Cancer, welcome back to Steampunk Psyche. If you are a returning subscriber, I want to say really cool. I appreciate you sticking with this community, okay? If you're brand new to the channel or just cross-watching for your particular sign, I'm JT. Make sure you come in and check out the new playlists. Maybe the energy will line up with you, maybe it won't. But anyway, Cancer, I do want to tell you that I've been leaving the haiku poems right before your readings. I feel like it's a really cool way to transition into the reading. So let me know what you think about that, all right? All right, we're going to do the shuffle up and we're going to talk about the categories for Cancer, okay? Cancer, I wish for you peace, health, wealth, stability. I wish for you that the paths open up, to meet your desires, that your money situation becomes better, opportunities become better, people around you, you're surrounded by people that understand you. All right. We're going to talk about these categories. I will go over them with you. Current energy, crossing challenge. This is the foundation card, the recent past, possibilities, the near future. This is the self. This is the environment. Hopes, fears, wishes, or worries, and the outcome and the direction. Okay, Cancer, I'm going to take a second to study these cards, and while I'm doing that, I have your brand new poems ready from Haiku Corner. I'll be right back. Okay, Cancer, here's the skinny on this situation. You're probably going to resonate as the masculine if you're cross-watching for your particular sign, right? And this is about the feminine. This is Queen of Wands, siren type energy here, okay? It's pretty hot. And I feel like I don't have to be gender specific, but I feel like it is, okay? She is caught in this Knight of Pentacles energy and a King of Cups, okay? Two gentlemans. And she's trying to make a decision, okay? One is based upon loyalty, and the other one is based upon pure fire and lights. Yeah. We're going to talk about this energy. If you're down with it, let's do this, okay? We've got this Seven of Cups. This is your current energy, okay? Like I said, I feel like there may be this fading long term, this Knight of Pentacles energy here, okay? I don't know, two masculines competing for you. I feel like there's one that sees something and maybe going to change. This is going to change everything for you here. But for you, the feminine, I feel like you're being shown a couple of different timelines here, right? This is you're overwhelmed but not confused, okay? And I feel like you're making that choice to choose the one that feels like truth and not out of just obligation here, okay? It's like your heart is way louder than the circumstances, okay? This is emotionally checked out from that King of Pentacles, okay? The Knight, it's both. I'll talk about this, but it's still, for some of you, you're still in this relationship, okay? And I feel like you've been daydreaming about this, about this King of Cups, okay? You're not meaning to, right? But this is the one, this has got that energy. You shouldn't want this, right? But you can't shake it. It's the intoxicating type of pull here. It feels like that karmic magnet. I don't know. This is one showing up in your dreams, though. That's the one in your heart space, in your chest, the one that should be in your shadow work. But you know, I don't know. This is the temptation within this card, right? It's triggered you, it's awakened you, and he's still watching you, right? It's got you in your head. I'm imagining the what if moments. Late night. The quiet, the unspoken. Um, I don't know. You might be replaying old conversations with him, or noticing some kind of a new meaning in some of the text, something like that. But I don't know. I kind of think that you might be noticing how the King of Pentacles here, you know eventually, right, is I don't he doesn't ask you how you feel, right? It's only the things that need to be done, kind of. And I think I don't know, you might be catching yourself smiling when this brother here, is checking out your stories. That's what I'm trying to get at. It's kind of like feeling guilty for wanting your freedom in a way. And I don't know, maybe you're fantasizing about a life where you choose yourself. That does have that in these cards. There's temptation, there's fantasy, wish fulfillment, all of that. So it's kind of like the universe here is just tugging you, toward a different path, right? And so you're sensing that shift. Sometimes it kind of feels like, something's coming, but is it wrong? You know, um, I don't know. It's not, you're not choosing between men here. Okay. I just feel like you're choosing between, what version of yourself matches your desire. Okay. We're going to talk about this challenge card. Um, this is, this is gonna it might sting a little bit, pull the bandage off of an old wound here, okay? But I feel like you've been carrying a lot of the emotional weight that was never yours to hold through this Knight of Pentacles, King of Pentacles energy, okay? Whatever that represents for you, that partner you've been with for a while, maybe somebody here is married to this person, I'm not sure, but I feel like you've kind of been holding on to that King of Pentacles, feelings, their fears, their expectations, right? While you're kind of like, hiding. I don't know. You're kind of like hiding all the dissatisfaction to avoid maybe trying to hurt this person. But I don't know, pretending everything's fine when it's not, right? So it's got that exhaustion in it. You know, you're afraid of being the bad guy here. You don't want to hurt somebody that's I don't know, maybe someone who depends on you in a way. And so it's got that overwhelmed by guilt, right? Tired of being the strong one, realizing that I don't know, there's way too many emotions involved here, and I have a hard enough time holding on to my own, right? So so this is telling me you haven't been in your queen mode, it's just been in that caretaker mode, right? And so I'm done performing, right? The emotional labor, um, it's too overwhelming. So I say that to say we've got this Knight of Pentacles here, okay? The Knight of Pentacles talks about a long-term commitment here, routine, or some kind of a shared life structure that feels really heavy here, right? And so, you've been with this King of Pentacles for a long time, perhaps, some of you, right? Or at least for some of you, you've shared the responsibilities, the routines, the home life type of thing. And so there's this kind of like this obligation to stay, because of history, right? So I don't know, and it kind of like, maybe you feel guilty for wanting a little more, right? Or maybe you feel like you owe them that loyalty, and so that has that kind of betrayal kind of energy, like of your stability here. Okay, so it's kind of like just living on autopilot, you know, um, playing a role, instead of like living life, right? And so it's like I don't know, you find yourself like slowly kind of disappearing, inside the relationship, and I don't know, the masculine, it's stable. It's got a masculine and a feminine energy here. It feels like stable, loyal, predictable. But as far as emotional wise, it's just kind of limited here. Okay. So now let's talk about this recent past. This is where this story heats up and gets interesting here. Um, it's another one of these, right? It's an old bruise, so I'm going to go slow. This is taboo. This is intoxicating. It's got that I'm emotionally addicted to this connection, and I don't think it ever ended. You know what I'm saying? So the King of Cups was like maybe your emotional escape here. You leaned on this person, maybe when you felt a little unseen, a little unheard, so you may have some secrets with this guy, this king here, but it's feeling safe. You know what I mean? And in a way, it may have scared you. Like the chemistry may have felt a little forbidden. You know what I mean? But I don't know. You got the sense that he got you right, without having to explain things. And so there's a little bit of that guilty for how much maybe you needed him. Maybe you even felt the connection when you tried to cut it off, right? Maybe you just felt him in your dreams, felt him in the chest, in the heart space. So this he was definitely that shadow masculine, the one who kind of awakened up this truth here. Okay, it's not toxicity, it was just intensity, right? You weren't maybe ready to face at that particular time. So we're moving on into the possibilities, and we're looking at this Hierophant, right? So this talks about higher level commitment, but not maybe the one you're thinking. Okay, you're like being guided. I feel like with this Hierophant, you're being guided towards this emotional truth. You're kind of like being pushed to choose, your authenticity, right, over this obligation in this other relationship. And so I don't know, you're like being shown what real partnership looks like here. Preparing for that spiritual connection. You're breaking generational patterns or those karmic patterns or something like that, and it's like, um, I feel like this person is about to meet you, emotionally the way I don't know that I don't know. You're being shown like that loyalty, without love is not really like devotion here. Okay, you're being called to choose yourself. Okay, and I feel like you might be about to meet that soulmate, or at least come together with that soulmate. Okay, so it's definitely elevated into like a new version of what this love represents for you. Okay, and I feel like the King of Cups is definitely about to step into this emotional maturity with you. So take what fits here. All right, and the reason why I say is we got this Eight of Wands. Okay, all right, this is fast communication, and I feel like it's going to be I feel like this might be something that he sees, right? The King of Cups is going to see a post, and it's going to hit him. All right. Maybe he notices that you're looking kind of distant, from that partner that you're with, right? You got a little bit of a different glow about you, and so I don't know. You might you might find yourself pulling away from some routines and things like that you've been working on. Excuse me. Um, it could look like for some of you, um, that late night message, something like that comes in. I don't know, seeing something that I think kind of like scares him about losing you. You know what I mean? So, you might expect like this long emotional text to come in soon. Maybe confessing, something he's held for years. It's like it's the hey, are you okay? He comes out and tells you, hey, I just can't stay quiet anymore, right? So it's got, becoming bold, not reckless or nothing like that, but it's just, I'm about to send that message that's going to change everything here, right? All right, now we're looking at the self category, and we got the Tower. You know, once again, yeah, look, this is your emotional truth, right? It's breaking through this this life that you've kind of just been lightly stitched together, that type of situation. You can't pretend anymore here. And I don't feel like excuse me, I don't think that this is this is definitely not silencing your heart. You just can't stay, for loyalty alone, right? And so um you can't deny the connection with the King of Cups either. So it's like you're living this half life, right? And so, choosing your duty over your desire here, suppressing your needs, you just can't keep lying to yourself, and avoiding the truth, right? So This is kind of like your awakening. It's not the destruction of your life. It's definitely the awakening. The tower isn't the end. It's the beginning, I feel like, of what your real life was supposed to represent here. Okay. All right. So now we're moving on into the environment, and here he is. You know, um, this past masculine's returning. Okay. And I feel like it's got the upgrade, the version that was there that maybe you saw. This is, I'm watching your stories, I'm watching your posts, I'm watching everything. I'm about to send you that message again, the honesty. I'm going to tell you just how magnetic you are. You're unpredictable as hell, but damn, you're soft when you choose to be, dangerous when you need to be. This is the, you know I'm going to tell you that that smile you got, it makes me rethink my entire strategy here. And so this is that conversation. um you make them want to talk softer, right? They can't help but look longer, they can't help but try harder. This is admitting, that he's always felt your dependence, right? He kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to tell you, I cared way more than I let on. This is a confession, okay, that he never, he didn't stop thinking about you. You know, this is, what do you need? This is the, what do you want? He steps up in that emotional way that maybe he never did before. So I feel like this is the emotional masculine. This is that soulmate. Okay, he's not returning like to tempt you or anything. He's returning to claim you. All right. We're going to talk about this: hopes, fears, wishes, and worries. And here it is. You know, I feel like you fear that you're going to hurt this person, you know, um, but you also fear staying. And so you're definitely caught in that, you don't want to break his heart. You don't want to be the villain here. The fallout situation, of course, right? Guilt, the fear of judgment. And some of it's just the fear of the unknown, right? So it's like choosing the wrong person. It could be just kind of coming up. Maybe old patterns or something like that. But I don't know, the betrayal of someone who may have depended upon you, right? So, um, he's that provider, but I don't feel like he's that emotional partner that you're looking for here, okay? And so it's kind of like got the, I'm afraid of the consequences of the truth, right? All right. But we're going to look at the outcome and the direction here. And we've got the Seven of Wands. This is you defending your choice. This is you, choosing yourself here, right? This is all my boundaries with the King of Pentacles. You're gonna, I'm done with the performance. No more pretending. This is I'm gonna stop apologizing for the things that I need, right? So it's definitely got that. I'm no longer hiding my truth here. I'm not gonna silence my heart anymore, and I'm gonna choose authenticity. Authenticity. It's like, um, this is my freedom. And the path that feels like me here, right? So it's definitely stepping into that full kind of a Queen of Wands power. It's I don't have to chase, I don't have to pull, I ain't got to beg anymore. And you're choosing. I'm not competing, this ain't competition here. So it's like, um it's definitely clarity. You know what I mean? Look, it's you've been loyal, you've been patient. And I don't know, the King of Pentacles, it kind of represents the life you built, but not really like the life that's feeding your soul. And so that King of Cups, to me, it kind of just represents the, the emotional truth that you had maybe buried at one time. And so, you know um and I feel like maybe he sees that, right, that shift in you. And so, he kind of feels you like slipping from that life, that you've been kind of holding together. And so, that Tower card comes along. It's like I said, it's not the destruction of your life, it's kind of like the liberation of your life here. So, the Seven of Wands here is not, it's not conflict, it's more like self-respect for you. Okay, so choose yourself, right? Choose the truth over, the path, that you feel like is love in your chest here. Cancer, I apologize, I know this is one of those readings, it's just, and you're brave as hell to stick through it if you did. And if you're cross watching, like I said, there's only one winner in this situation. But maybe it enlightened you also to kind of see some things. These cards are what they are, and I kind of pick up on the energies and read them as I see. So if it was confirmation for you, give it a thumbs up. If it was clarity, or just leave your comments, whatever you think about the reading. So anyway, Cancer, I love you. I respect you. I appreciate you showing up at Steampunk. Okay. Anyway, I hope I get to see you again on the next readings. All right. Okay. Bye bye.